City of London Corporation looks after a huge land holding, 4,500 hectares across London. So people are quite surprised that it's not just the square mile, but land that's held in places like Epping Forest, Burnham Beeches, the Kent and Surrey Commons. So land all the way around the outside of London for the benefit of all Londoners. Parks and open spaces are amazing places for people to carry out informal sports activities, as well as the more formal activities around things like football, tennis. We've got all sorts of different activities in the parks, as you would expect. But perhaps the biggest factor is just to have open space where people can carry out quiet, informal recreation, relaxation, and the benefits of connecting with nature. So somewhere like Epping Forest, which is over 6,000 acres of land, people can walk for up to 16 miles north to south or south to north. It's a 16-mile strip of land going all the way from Manor Park right out to Epping beyond the M25. So people cycle, people walk. It's very much informal recreation, and I think that's where people gain the most benefit. The challenges parks and open spaces face are predominantly around funding. Being very straightforward with you here, many of my colleagues in local authorities are facing significant budget reductions. And one of the really unfortunate things about open spaces is that they are a non-statutory function. So the local authority, when they're looking at budget cuts, have to think about the statutory functions that they carry out, things like education, social services, in preference over the non-statutory functions, which are things like parks and open spaces. And one of the benefits of this particular conference is to explain the benefits that parks and open spaces bring that are non-statutory, but people and communities would find very difficult to replace. There is a small danger of that. The planning laws are very strict, so things like metropolitan open land can not really be sold off for development. There's sometimes small areas of land will be sold for enabling development, but most of the Victorian parks and open spaces should be protected. I think it is an interesting debate though, particularly as London expands by maybe 8% or 10% over the next few years. There will be a huge pressure on land. And one of the debates is around how that development can happen on brownfield sites rather than losing greenfield. I think it's been really fantastic to network with lots of colleagues from across the sector, from the health sector, from sport, and I think it's always a partnership in terms of delivering these health benefits. So although my background is land management, looking after parks and open spaces, I think working with colleagues from a cross-section of different sectors is really the way forward, and it helps us, if we're always working in partnership, to bring in additional sources of funding. So I think particularly on the health side of things, there's a real synergy between the phenomenal pieces of land that we have available and the health benefits that they can bring. I think it's really the enthusiasm that everybody has here to make people more active, to make Britain an active nation. And I think parks can be right at the heart of that. Everybody remembers growing up as a child and how important their local park was. I think the challenge is to make sure that that local park is important throughout people's lifespan. And some of the exciting initiatives about bringing people into parks, perhaps later in their life, is really important. So yeah, I've been really inspired by today's conference.